And thanks, Brian, for having us. Thanks to VitalLink. It's been a tough year for everyone, but I think that kids and students have been so negatively affected by everything going on. And so I just wanted to say thank you to all of the instructors and teachers on the line. Your work right now is so critical, especially what you're teaching. It's an elective. Students want to come to your class. So thank you what you're doing. Thank you from the industry for all that you do. And if there is anything that industry can do to support you, we are here for you during this difficult time. And so now I'd like to invite the college instructors and professors we have on the line to introduce yourself. Why don't we start with Mike at Cypress College?
Good morning. This is I'm Mike Klyde, Cypress College, Automotive Technology, representing, and I believe Enrique is also listed as a co-panelist from Cypress. And I'm the T10 coordinator. So I keep looking out the window over here because I have 4 students doing practicals today, 2 hours apiece. So if I look distracted, that's what I'm looking at. But thank you for inviting me.
And James?
Good morning, everybody. My name is James Hulbert. I'm the instructional lab coordinator for the Automotive Technology program at Golden West College. I also teach for Coastline RLP out of the college for our sort of local auto tech academy. Basically for local high school students who don't have automotive programs in Huntington Beach can come to our campus for automotive technology, and really happy to be here with you guys this morning.
Thank you. And Raj?
Good morning, everyone. Raj Dhillon, Saddleback College, lab program coordinator. I think that's it. Let's keep it simple. Sorry, Tony Tang couldn't be here. Well, hopefully I'll be enough.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, Raj. And thank you. Matthew?
Yeah, my name is Matt Bittner, full-time faculty at Santa Ana College for Automotive. Basically for us, all the instructors kind of just teach, we kind of try to switch it up from semester to semester and kind of teach different classes. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, great. Well, let's get started, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. So let's start off with a current event here. What best practices have you come up with for social distancing on your campus and continuing to instruct?
So at Saddleback, what we've done is we've rented out tents. So we're not using classrooms. We're using a hybrid program with all our classes. And what we do is we bring the students every other week to do lab. We'll bring it under tent outside. So we have all the sides open. We make the students wear face shields, masks, and gloves when they come into our programs and do lab with us. And we bring them in small cohorts. We bring them 6 or 7 at a time. We spread them out. And if we are using lifts, we leave one lift in between so no one can be infected. We have one entrance in, one entrance out.
Thank you, Raj.
This is Mike. I'm sorry if I don't mean to make you seasick, but I'll turn this around so you can see what's out there. You can see they're in lab, and this is half of the groups. Normally there'd be 8 students in my lab at a time, so they're spaced out every other space. I normally be wearing a mask, but I'm way far away from them. We have fans to bring air in and out of the shop and circulate it. And for class time, that part is, I'm doing it synchronous, and T10 is doing it synchronous online like they would just be in class. So there's if you have any questions about what we're doing, I'm happy to answer them for you. But so far, we've got 1 more week to go. I will say this, the most important thing about bringing students on campus is T10 developed, I work with a small team with T10 National, And we developed COVID safe lab practice guidelines, a test, or lab sheet for them to do. Anybody's welcome to have it if you want it. We posted it up on ASE, but if you want copies of any of the material, just email me and I'll get them to you through a shared folder. The most important thing is that you're communicating with the students that if they've been exposed or have symptoms, to not come to lab, so you don't have to go into shutdown, have everybody tested, and then quarantine for 7 to 10 days is now the new guideline. So that's, I would say, the most important thing is the communication and stressing that to the students, so it's not just show up and running with it, because if you do, then they're going to run into having to get quarantined.
Thanks, Mike.
I was going to say, so at Santa Ana College, we've pretty much switched to like a hybrid format as well. We brought down our class sizes from about 24. Sometimes we would take up to 26, 28. We've brought that down to about 18 to 20. If it's a Monday, Wednesday class, basically half the class, like 9 or 10 students, will come in on the Monday. The other 9 to 10 students will come in on the Wednesday. And then that kind of gives us enough room as well, like as space in the lab. We've also tried to structure the classes to where at any one time there's no more than one class. If there is 2 classes going on at one time, it'll typically be like maybe in the transmission area and in the engine repair area, so they're kind of spaced apart. Then it just as far as lecture, it's basically pretty much just all on Canvas, and then that just depends on how the instructor wants to run it, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, we've actually been doing very similar to those 2 colleges. I wanted to really second what Mike was saying about communicating to students the importance of staying home if they get sick. A lot of them, they especially early on at the start of the semester, some of the kids were so ready to come back. Like that transition to online, last spring was so hard for them. So, they're trying to really stick it in there and make sure they come in and all. And just, if they feel a little under the weather, oh yeah, it'll be fine. It's no, guys, please stay home, get better, get tested. But we have very similar policies. Our students have been doing all the lecture and all that has been online. And it's really been up to the instructors, but they've all kind of found their way through Canvas to reach the students that way. And same thing, like Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, the classes are pretty much split in half. So we'll only have, 7 or 8 students from each class in the lab at any given time, so we can really spread everybody out, wearing masks, gloves. We've got a whole decontamination protocol where we've got cleanup carts with, extra seat covers, steering wheel covers, disinfectant with towels to wipe the cars down. So the students come into a clean lab and then they leave a clean lab. So lots of extra cleaning, but I think it's been good. It teaches students how to keep their work area clean, and it's good habits anyway, but we just need to be extra careful. And we've had a lot of success so far, so we haven't had to close anything down. We had a couple scares, but those students tested negative and they're back in class, so everything's been going good.
Oh, okay, great news. Thank you guys for talking about all of your safety protocols. So during this crisis, we're interested, has the demographic of the students changed at all? Tell us a little bit about what is the average demographic of your students now? Are they high school seniors entering your program, or maybe folks that have been out of high school for a while?
I would say for us, we do get students coming directly out of high school, but most of them tend to be a couple years older than that. And our demographics really haven't shifted much during the pandemic. I will say the students that are making the effort to do the online education and kind of tolerate the changes that we've had to endure are the ones who are more like the guys who are really, and gals who are really serious about being automotive technicians, have not let this dissuade them at all. So we've seen a little bit of shrinkage, but I think some of the casual students are just kind of waiting and will kind of come back to us in good time. So the demographics, the core demographics are the same, but everybody who's been coming in has been making a real strong effort to do a real good job. So we've actually got a really strong core group right now.
Nice.
The continuing students have been persistent in the T10 program. We took a large cohort last year, which at the time seemed like a great idea because the dealers really needed techs. But then with COVID, it's made the lab, splitting up the labs a lot more difficult. They have one more semester and they're finished. The new incoming T10 group, we had a smaller, usually we have about 48 students in the summer that we pick 24 or so from. We had 37 that we selected 27, and I've had 22 persist to finish, so it's dropped off. The age group is a little bit higher than average. There's people, more students that are in their late 20s to early 30s in this group than previous. Fewer high school students. To be honest, if Enrique or Russ Baccarello want to add something at some point in the chat box or something on the general program, because I don't see their labs because they're Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we're Thursday, Friday. So because of keeping everybody separate, I haven't seen their student population, so I can't speak to any age change from that group.
Okay, Matt?
Demographics wise, it seems pretty much the same. We're seeing a lot of our repeat students that have kind of been going through the program. It did shake things up for sure. The spring semester when COVID first hit, because obviously we started off as a regular semester, and then we pushed everybody back to completely online for pretty much the remainder of the semester. So we did have some students that weren't too happy about that, of course. And actually some of our students ended up dropping the classes, in the middle or towards the end of the semester just because, they wanted the hands-on. They're like, I'm not getting the hands-on. This isn't helping me. Therefore, I'm going to take the class later. We've had some return. We've had some not. But for the most part, I mean, it's, the same students we've seen a lot of the time. Not much changes, but just because of everything going on, there's minor changes. And
Raj, how about at Saddleback?
We haven't seen a demographics change, but we have seen numbers decline slightly. Majority of them, the ones that are diehard, definitely will turn up and do the lab. They'll come through. And one of the things we noticed was now we're bringing them in small cohorts, how much actually an individual student knows or has learned. And when before COVID, they'd work in groups, and we found during COVID-19 that it would be one person doing the work and the rest copying off him. So when they're now doing individual labs, it's how much actually a student has learned in our advanced classes. So we are moving some of our curriculum or some of our labs back to basics. So that's what we're doing at Saddleback.
Excellent. I'm happy to hear there wasn't a lot of fall off or change, because throughout the whole crisis, vehicle repair is considered an essential business. And so I think this has shown us, this has been proof that it's a career that will continue no matter how technology changes. The need will always be there for these dedicated technicians. So very good to hear that. So let's talk about your programs. I know that you all offer various certificates and degrees. Can you tell us a little bit about what the students, what their goals are? Are most of your students aiming to complete a certificate or a degree? And for each of those, how long is it taking students to complete those programs?
Well, we have a couple students getting like associate's degrees every year. The vast majority seem to want to do like the certificate program and get straight to work. The average would probably be about 2 years to get through 10 different classes, complete both of our certificate paths, both for engine performance and like the under car certificate. with students who do the associates typically taking an extra 1 or 2 semesters just because the auto program is so intensive and is pretty unit dense. It takes some time to get all your other prereqs for the associates done also. And we're really trying to push students to get more associate's degrees and get more of that education, because so much of like the writing and communication skills can be tied into that. And we want our students to be able to be successful long-term in their careers. But what I've seen, I've seen a number of students come through the program, and I've been here for several years. I've seen students come through, knock out their certificates in a couple of years. They disappear for a couple of years, and then, I might bump into them on campus because they're doing like night courses or other schools because they've kind of come back after getting established. So that's kind of the beauty of a community college is, they can get their technical education, and then if they want to take the next step, they can always come back to us. But we're pushing for more associate's degrees, but I mean, our kids want to come in and get to work as quick as they can.
Thank you, James. And Raj, what are you seeing?
We're seeing the same. We are getting a few people that want the degrees, but mostly want to get the certificates and get to work. We're fortunate we're on outside our college. We have Land Rover, we have Acura, we have Volvo, Audi, Lexus, Infiniti. So students just want to get to work with them. So the minimum of 1 or 2 or 3 of them will go and do their AA degree, or even go further after that and transfer to get a bachelor's. But at the moment, we're just seeing certification. A majority of them just want certification and start working.
Okay, thanks, Raj. And Matt, how about at Santa Ana?
Yeah, we're pretty much the same. I mean, I always try to pick the students' brains any chance I get to basically, and even at the beginning of my classes, I'll kind of ask them like who's here to earn a certificate and who actually wants a degree. And it's not too many that, are thinking about getting an actual degree, but I always kind of, spend some time every time with every class just to kind of tell them like, you have no idea, kind of what life is going to throw at you, and having that degree might actually advance your career later on, even though you might not know it now. So, but yeah, it's definitely the same thing. A lot of them, even when you kind of talk with them, like, are you getting a certificate or degree? They'll, I'm just going to get a certificate. Like, why not, push yourself a little bit harder and get a degree? Nah, I don't care. So, I mean, it's kind of just, obviously it comes down to personal preference. And the other thing too, if they are pretty young, sometimes they don't see the full picture. They're just seeing, get the degree and get working. But one of the things I always tell them is that just that they got to be careful, because if they just earn some certificates and they start working somewhere, a lot of time the shop is going to be pushing them to kind of work harder and actually not take, their personal life and if they're going to school into consideration. So I kind of throw that at them as well too.
Okay, thanks, Matt. And Mike?
When we interview students, when Paul Kelly and I interview students for T10, we also, in the summer class, we have them, this year we did it virtual. We visit the Toyota region down in Irvine, and the staff there really reinforced the need for an associate's degree to move onward and upward. And we stress it with respect to, if you're a master diagnostic tech or you're going to become a team leader, you need some of those additional skills of shop foreman, that becomes helpful. So we have about 40% of the T10 students are taking career tech ed English and math 115, which is geared, those 2 classes are specific for our students, and they then generally will finish their associate's degree after they finish T10. So about a year out, 2 years out, they've got their associate's degree, so they're in a real good position. That's about a 40% of the students that are doing that, and part of that includes students that come in that already actually have an associate's degree or even higher. I have a couple students with bachelor's degrees that are doing T10.
Excellent. Well, it's good to hear that you offer both. I would like to bring up also the manufacturer training. I think most of you partner with a manufacturer at least to offer e-learnings to students or some sort of a brand specific training. Could anyone speak to that, that what you have on campus?
Our Honda Pact program, so our Honda partnership and that career automotive training has continued pretty much unabated. We're still running the same PAC classes that we would have been running before, with all the same changes, of course. So that continues. So they've been doing their modules at home. Like their same homework assignments are still their same homework assignments, and they're still doing the same modules in the lab with the PAC instructors. And, you know, our Honda dealers continue to be supportive. Right when the pandemic first started, some of the shops were doing a bit of furloughing and, you know, young technicians being kind of the low man on the totem pole. Some of our kids we were hearing they were being sent home because, you know, work trailed off. But then as the shops picked back up again, you know, everybody went back to work, and we've seen students getting hired again. So things are bouncing back, which is good. We also have a partnership with Subaru. That one's a little less structured. They're still working on it, but we've been able to deliver some of that curriculum to students. And fortunately, because so much of that was students doing modules for homework in addition to the shop work already, it's all kind of integrated into what we've been doing. The instructors have done a really good job keeping our manufacturer partnerships going.
Excellent.
T10 has integrated e-learning, and then the non-T10 classes at Cypress have integrated Electude, which is high-level e-learning content into their courses. So that's helped keep the students on track. The T10 team nationally put together a resource group to help instructors across the country get up to speed on learning management systems and keeping the students engaged in this environment. So, and we've been helping each other on campus here at Cypress. The student attrition rates, you know, it's a little bit higher, but not bad considering how rough the situation can be for the average student. It's really, it is tough, but there's ways to work through it, and I'm happy to assist and talk with and share best practices with anyone who's interested.
Thank you. Matt?
We have partnerships with Subaru as well as Chrysler, but we don't really have, nothing is in kind of full swing yet. So that's one of the things that we have, you know, for future plans. So we've gotten, we've gotten like a lot of like parts and stuff like that. So we're just trying to kind of restructure things and get the ball rolling from there.
Good, something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And Raj?
We're not tied to any specific manufacturer, but we do run online level tech level 1 classes for Audi and Land Rover and Jaguar.
Very good. Okay, we've had a few questions pop up in the chat about electric vehicles, and I was pulling up the stats. I mean, you know, I think we all know Orange County is one of the highest areas of electric vehicle sales. We have about 16% of new vehicle sales in Orange County year to date have been electric or plug-in hybrid or hybrid vehicles. So that is increasing. You all offer electric courses on your campuses. Do you have recommendations to the high school instructors on the call about successes? And we know there is a lot of danger with the training on electric vehicles, so maybe suggestions on safety.
So at Saddleback, what we do before we have an alternate fuel program, before we leash the students out on high voltage cars, we let them we have an access of golf carts. So we start them with golf carts and 36 volts, and then they progress to our switch lab vehicles, then the production electric cars. So most high schools will have some golf carts around with their facilities. That would be a way to go that they could start learning how to be safe using gloves, trying to take the battery packs out on a golf cart and see where they went from there.
Speaking as someone who works with students at the college level and high school students, I think what Raj is saying about having the high school kids work with like golf carts and kind of lower voltage stuff is a really good idea. There's a certain maturity level you kind of need to see before you turn students. And I mean, when I tour students through like our EV lab, the first thing I show them is like the shepherd's hook, because it's like, this is what we're going to use to pull you off the car if you zap yourself. And you don't want to like frighten or intimidate students too much, but you want them to have like a really, really healthy respect for this stuff. And like talking about like freshman, sophomore, like early level high school students, I just wouldn't want them really working with high voltage EV stuff yet. If I was, really, that's kind of like my capstone kind of idea for what a high school program would be. You need to have them, mature and really used to working safely before you can even approach that. Because even at the college level, making sure we have gloves certified and making sure that students really understand all the safety side of things before they start working on something is just of paramount importance. And, there are students we have to watch closely at the college level, kids in their 20s and even approaching their 30s who, if you don't watch them, they might do something that we don't want them doing. So it always is going to depend on the maturity level of the students, but I think starting them off on other types of electrical work to get familiar in a safer way is definitely the way to go. So Raj's ideas on that point are great.
Yeah, we offer a electrical vehicle certificate. We actually got 2 of the Switch Lab vehicles pretty recently. We spent last summer putting them together, getting it ramped up to get things going. Due to COVID, obviously, we had to kind of push it back a little bit, but I kind of agree that, it's because even with, the regular automotive classes, you do have to watch some of the students pretty carefully, because some of them will just go in there. I mean, some of them have absolutely no exposure, even working with tools or doing anything. So sometimes you'll go and you'll look at a student, you'll see them doing something that's pretty unsafe, and you have to kind of go like, hey, what's going on? So definitely with the electric vehicles, they could get pretty bad shock. So, but yeah, we're, our plan is basically to eventually get that electric vehicle certificate going. Some of the classes are, some of the other classes we've been running. And then, hopefully if they take, basic electrical classes, that kind of give them, the bridge, and then they have a healthy understanding of what's going on.
And at Cypress, our general program has a hybrid EV course that's with a certificate. And that course, I don't know if I can't say it. I know they offered it in the spring, but I don't know if they offered it in the fall. And then with T10, we updated all our certificates last year. They went into effect this year for the class of 2022. We'll finish with hybrid vehicle credit for the 2 Toyota Lexus hybrid vehicle courses, and we have a small fleet of hybrid vehicles that they train on. We have it's about a $15,000 toolbox that Toyota gave us that the students work out of, that has insulated tools, a high voltage battery charger, et cetera. So they learn how to work on them. Safety is, of course, the first thing we instruct, and they actually do their first lab on hybrids next week with the safety and then the basics of batteries. So they learn the pieces of a hybrid as they apply to the related courses in the T10 curriculum. Some T10 schools just have a separate hybrid course, but we have so many units at Cypress, we couldn't do that. So we put the content where it applies. So in electrical, we do the batteries, and in drivetrain, we do the transaxles and the motors. And in the engine performance, it's now HV, EV, internal combustion engine performance and drivability. That's where it's all put.
Okay. So I'm hearing safety is key, which we all know. There are more questions that have popped up in the chat about electric vehicles. So I would recommend, as a high school instructor or administrator, that you reach out to your local community college, because they do all have programs in place, and I think you could all offer best practices at another time. We're at our time limit, so real quickly, I just wanted to ask each of you to share what is the most important thing that you would recommend high school instructors are working on with their students so that they're ready for the college level classes when they come to you. Matt, can you start us off with that?
Sure. I think one of the things is getting them used to, using the tools for sure, because we get students come in and they're completely foreign to them. So maybe at least, definitely just like the kind of like the basic stuff, using tools, maybe even, just where like the different components are in a vehicle. Same thing. Sometimes we get a student that they'll open the hood and you ask them, where's the throttle body? And they have no idea. So just kind of like the basic stuff. I mean, if they get, just kind of, that little bit of confidence in them, kind of know where everything is at, know how to use tools, I think that'll, pretty much give them a good start in college.
Thank you.
I think we'd love to see students coming in with some more basic like measuring knowledge, like just something as simple as how a micrometer works. And I know it's an uphill battle with high school kids, but we have to spend a lot of time going back over, again, like it's that kind of basic tool stuff, like how to properly use a torque wrench. I mean, even on like things like lug nuts, good practices for lifting a car. I know some high schools have more limited access to lifts than what we do, but like if we could get like those really basic, like how to use a torque wrench, basic measuring, basic knowledge of things like a multimeter. If students come prepared with those basic tools, it lets our instructors kind of ramp up into the more higher level stuff more quickly and efficiently, and also gives them more time. Like the students who maybe haven't been in an auto program who need the extra help can get it if our other core group of students is more prepared. If that makes sense to everybody.
It does. Thanks, James.
I think what's stated is correct. I think probably the other part would be what the job actually entails and how, if targeting the students that really, for the ones who it's a hobby, and then others who look at it as a career. So giving the ones who really want to do this as a career. I know everybody wants to win the high school tech competition, but sometimes the people who win don't have the plan to become an automotive technician or be in the industry at all. It's just they like it, it's a hobby, they're very smart, and they can win the competition. But the students who are actually going to go into the field, it would be awesome if the ones who are really dedicated to this is a career path they want to take, those are the ones targeted for the competition, because really helping them get to a community college, whichever one of the five it is. We need those students. Those are the ones who need the attention. They all need the attention, but the ones who really want it as a career need that.
They need that support, and probably the scholarship would be better used, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, excellent. Thanks for bringing that up, Mike. And Raj, what's your recommendation?
I concur with everything everyone said. We're finding a lot of students can't use tape measures, don't understand fractions, even metric system. So it is difficult when they come to use tools. Even a basic screwdriver, some students that come into our program haven't used a handheld screwdriver. So having the basic principles, using hand tools, we're trying to develop a class, just a simple class where we give them a piece of metal, they use a file, they use a drill press, they use a hammer, a punch, they tap a hole. We're trying to develop a class that we can instill the basics into them. And then we have purchased the NC3 PMI, the precision measuring certification. And that would add on to it So, and then they'd go into our fundamentals and onwards from there.
Excellent. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate all of your time today. You gave a lot of great information. If you haven't already, can you please enter your contact info into the chat box?